Vishal, thank you for joining us today. Welcome to this channel and thank you for taking out time to give this interview. Vishal, congratulations first of all on being selected for ILI CAT examination, which is one of the most prestigious LLM colleges in India. So, hi, welcome. Can you please start by giving us a little bit of an introduction about yourself and your educational background?
Thank you, ma'am, for having me here. My name is Vishal, and I am currently pursuing LLM from the Indian Law Institute. I did my LLB from the Delhi University and the graduation from Delhi University.
Okay, great. That's great. Vishal, since ILI is something which is not very popular among students who are appearing for LLM, also because the seat intake is very less. So, can you please help us understand what is the pattern of ILI exam and what are the areas which are tested and how many stages are there for ILI exam?
Ma'am, ILI offers only LLM and PhD courses. Some diploma courses also they have started. So it's basically a research institute. It's the placements are not quite well with the ILI, but yes, they are best for the institute. And if somebody has interest in the academics, about the influence of the ILI, they have both subjective and descriptive questions along with the interview also. ILI has 140 questions of the objectives, and 4 questions are of the descriptive in the nature. The descriptive questions are of 10 marks each, and we have a word limit of 150 marks, 50 words for each question. So we have to be in the word limit. And the objective questions are of 140 questions, of which 20 are from the GS, 20 are from the English, and 100 questions are from the law. GS is a very moderate one. They ask like basic in the GX. If somebody has a habit of reading the newspaper daily, then that could be also a sufficient for the GS. For the English part, I would say they ask the basics of the English, like whatever asked in the SSC examination, like that also. So the English, the vocabularies, the synonyms, antonyms, and all that they ask. So I think having basic knowledge of the English would be sufficient for the ILI. For the law portion, we need a thorough study because they ask almost 8 or 9 papers. That has to be one has to be thorough, clear into that. So criminal law, actually, this is the portion where they ask the most of the questions. So all 3 papers of the criminal law, IPC, CRPC, and evidence, that has to be read thoroughly. Along with the jurisprudence, they ask the questions from everywhere from the jurisprudence, the public international law, the constitution, the administrative law, the environmental law, tort and contract, some parts of the limitations and a specific relief also they do ask from that portion also. So barracks plus the concepts of these all papers would be sufficient to clear the ILI.
Right. That's correct. Okay, so Vishal, as you mentioned that there are 2 papers, that is one is objective and the other one is descriptive. So what kind of questions are tested in the subjective portion and how should one prepare for it? Like what did you do to prepare for the subjective area?
Ma'am, for the subjective area, actually it's just 150 word limit. So I would suggest what I did actually, I made the habit of writing it down in 150 words, giving the 10 minutes to the each question, not more than 10 minutes, because the time also has to be taken care of. So I made a practice for an entire week of writing the answers and reviewing it, whether everything is coming into that portion or not, and evaluating by myself. Some of the answers also we friends also shared with each other, and we indeed evaluate one another's answers also. So subjective part, they asked very straightforward. This time also they had asked the difference between culpable homicide and murder. That is a quite obvious one, everybody knows. The ostensive sovereignty, the doctrine of frustrations. So subjective questions, there is a straightforward. They a little bit twist in the objective only.
Right. Okay, that makes sense. Okay, Vishal. So that was your strategy for the descriptive portion. Now I would like to ask you, because as you said that GS is also asked, and even though the questions are relatively easier, what were the sources that you referred? Because law students don't really prepare for GK or GS because it's not really asked in any LLM entrance exam. So what were the sources that you referred particularly for GS and for English?
Ma'am, actually, the ILI is the institution where I think it is the only institution where the GS is being asked. So, what I had the source is some of the newspapers. Actually, I had a habit of reading the newspaper. So, even somebody is following the editorials or the main articles of Indian Express or the Hindu, then the most part of the GS will be covered into that. Uh, Other than that, if somebody has any magazine, like somebody refers to the Dr. Darpan, somebody refers to the Yojana or something like that, that can work for me. What I prepared for the GS, the only my main source was the newspapers. I had a habit of reading the newspaper, and that I think that can cover the whatever the ILI asked that.
So how many months newspaper would you say should one prepare for? Like last 6 months, 1 year, what should be the duration for that?
Ma'am, for preparing any LLM entrance examination, whether it is a CLAT or DU or the ILI, uh, sufficient time I would say is the 6 months. If somebody is working for the 6 months, then certainly he can crack the examination of any LLM entrance examination. It can be done in 2-3 months also, but that would be a very hectic one. So I would suggest the start preparing from 6 months earlier of the examination. I also started preparing in the end of the January, and fortunately, I had joined the Jurisedge, where I had guidance from the Sudipta sir, from you, ma'am, and the material that the Jurisedge has, no, the concise material that is quite helpful into that, and the case discussions that is happening, that is quite helpful. One case discussion of the Jurisedge contains so many other case laws as well as the sections and articles. So they are all, I mean, discussed in one case law, and we are able to revise the entire things that are connected with that particular case law. So revision method, I would say the case analysis of the jury has a lot of role, and it is a very helpful into that. So I got benefited much from this, the case analysis of the jury.
Right. You're absolutely right. Reading case laws helps you understand the topic more practically and it shows you what the law is. So, Vishal, since you were also preparing for CLAT and your preparation included those areas which are already tested in ILI. So, how would you say that preparing for CLAT, is the preparation same for ILI or is there any difference, or how should one, tailor the preparation for ILI particularly?
Ma'am, the question pattern that is asked in the CLAT is very much different from the ILI. So CLAT takes a lot of time because we have to go through the barracks, we have to go through the concepts, and then the case laws also, because they are asking the questions from the case law only. This year there is a little bit exception where the case law was relatively less asked, I would say. So for the CLAT, we have to devote a considerable amount of time in the case law, which ILI does not requires, because ILI does not ask the case law or the paragraph. They ask the direct questions, the MCQs. For the CLAT, I think I prepared 150 judgments, and I think 100 judgments were given by the juries that were quite helpful. That were very. It became very easy for us to revise and go through the which case law we have to go through, right? Otherwise, when I was actually exploring which case law I should go through, so it was very difficult to pick one, right? So I got the from the jury as the list of cases which has to be prepared, and summaries were also given to us. Some websites like Supreme Court Observer and other also helped us a lot into this. So preparing for the CLAT and preparing for the LI makes a difference in the case law only. The concept remains the same. So if somebody has a clear concept, the thorough knowledge of base law and the concepts, they can do well in the ILI also. The only exception is the descriptive answers has to be written in the ILI, that has to be taken care of, and along with the interview also, because the ILI has a interview weightage of 10%, so that becomes a deciding factor.
Right, right. So you're absolutely right that if somebody is preparing for CLAT, then conceptually it's the same for ILI as well. The only addition is case law. That's absolutely right. So, Vishal, now I would like to know that how was your interview experience? How was the panel, and what kind of questions were they asking you during the interview?
Ma'am, ILI has, I guess, 6 or 7 faculties, and at least 5 will sit in the panel for the interview. Uh, when I went in the interview room, I was asked about the what is the Article 44. That was the first question they asked with me, and then cross questioning also happened. Like they asked that the states are enacting laws on the uniform civil code, the center is enacting which should be better, which should be followed, and all that. Certain cross questionings went from here also. Then ILI in the interview panel, they definitely will ask what is the area of interest. If somebody says any paper, then the most of the questions will come from that paper only. So when I said constitution, I had the questions from the uniform civil code and some eminent jurist of the constitution, some articles of the constitution. There was certainly question about the Upendra Bakshi and his books also, and they actually basically test the, I would say, certain students are also there where the judgments were also asked, like the we
Mm-hmm.
prepare for the CLAT one. So if somebody is prepared for the CLAT, he might have age in the interview of the ILI also, because they are asking the judgment also, which is peculiar in last 2 3 years. Earlier they used to not ask about the judgments and all. But we got the briefing about the interview from the jury edge. The ma'am had warned us that they might ask the judgments also, and it did happen with me also. So basically 10 minutes, they ask for 10-minute questions only, a straightforward questions. But
Right, right. So basically, they were asking you questions on the basis of your interest and things that are happening in that area, particularly.
yes, ma'am.
That makes sense. Uh, okay, Vishal. So now coming to particularly this year's paper, like how did you find the difficulty level of 2022 ILI CAT exam, and what would you basically say the difficulty level was, and was it a lengthy paper to attempt? Is the time sufficient that is given to actually attempt the paper? So yeah.
Ma'am, I would say the difficulty level, I would say the paper was little bit easier if we compare with the 2021 paper or 2020 paper, because the GS part was a bit easy and the descriptive part was very straightforward and easy one. So that's why the cutoff also went up. Undoubtedly, every year the cutoffs of every examination are going up and up. But ILI this time they ask a bit easier question. Unlikely the CLAT, which had the easier question, but they ask a less judgment and more on the concept.
Right.
Um, and ILI this time, I would say, actually, ma'am, the descriptive part, whatever they have asked, everybody almost scored 50% in the descriptive part, right?
Hmm.
And since we have a word limit of 150 words, so time is abundant. We do not have to worry about the time in ILI examination. Unlike we had the NLU Delhi examination, which was humanly not possible to deal all questions in just 90 minutes. Actually, even the
Right.
machine cannot attend the all questions in that small amount of time. So ILI has a sufficient time. One has not to worry about the time. Only thing that is descriptive and the MCQs that has to be taken care of.
Right, right. That's absolutely true. And I think NLUD changed the pattern and it became very, very lengthy paper because of, inclusion of descriptive questions. So you're absolutely right. Okay, Vishal. So for people who want to go into ILI, what would be your suggestion with respect to how they should prepare and which areas should they focus on more in their preparation?
Ma'am, I would suggest first thing that if somebody wants to join the ILY, be prepared that you are going to be engaged very rigorously into that, because the classes they will take the time from 9 a.m. in the morning to the 5:30. There is a mandatory attendance of the library also, and it's a research institute. So somebody has a if interest in the academics and the research, the ILI is the best option. Placement, I would say that is not as good as the we see the top 5 NLUs. And for the preparation, I would say start 6 month preparation. Do look at the previous year questions, because in the ILI there is a chances this time also happened that they had the repetitions also in certain questions. So previous year going 5 6 year papers would be sufficient, and the right practice about the descriptive answers, because that would contain 40 marks and that would play a bigger role. So we have to write in the 150 words. So if somebody is quite well with the descriptive part, even he has not done well in the MCQs, he can get selected into that, because the descriptive part has a 40 marks. So it has a big role.
Right, right. That's very good advice, Vishal. So Vishal, now I would just like to know a little bit about ILI as to what are the specializations that they offer. And can you just tell us a little bit about the course structure, the semester exams, and what have you experienced there so far? Because you've already joined the college, right?
Ma'am, ILI has they can offer five specialization, like, but out of five, the students that have chosen the topmost two specializations will be taken only. So from last 4 5 years, they are going with the constitutional law and the criminal law as a specialization only. They give only option of three specialization for voting. They choose out of three, they choose two only. So criminal and consti are almost has become a static, right? About the course structure, I would say in the first semester we have the three mandatory papers and two optional papers. The criminal law, I have taken the criminal law, so we have the two papers of the criminal law, and somebody has taken the constitutional law, they will have the two papers of the constitutional law. What is unique in the ILI is the Wednesday seminar. On the every Wednesday, there is a seminar that has to be done by the students only. They are making the group of five students who have to go onto the dais and they have to present the case, they have to frame the issue, they have to answer the issue. The cross questioning will go on like the parliamentary debate. Randomly, any of the students sitting in the benches can be asked to go to the dais and put his views over the issues that had been given earlier. So this is something very helpful. Every student can be benefited by participating, though the participation is the mandatory in the Wednesday seminar, but it is a very much helpful. It can open a student who is even an introvert, and it can help in the litigation as well in the excel in the masters qualifications also. So this is the unique feature that is very much helpful in the ILI. And secondly, the faculties are very much helpful, very much accessible. They know the personally each other students also. We can walk into the faculty at any time and get our concerns addressed or anything we can ask. They do give the time to us, even though we can access to the director also without having any appointment or formal permission.
Right, right. You've correctly pointed it out. So ILI, I think the advantage of ILI over other MLUs is that one, it is an institute which only deals with masters and PhD. So they have, the full focus on LLM students and PhD. So you're absolutely right that academically speaking, it's a very good course to pursue. So Vishal, now I would just like to conclude this interview by asking you what are your future plans and what do you intend to do after your master's is done?
Ma'am, definitely I would like to enroll in the PhD because I want to pursue a bit higher education. And since I am the ILI, so whatever the environment I have seen in last 15 days, I would like to get enrolled in the ILI because it has the best library and the professors are very helpful one. So I have interest in the academics and I want to pursue the doctorate.
That's absolutely wonderful to hear. And I'm sure ILI is a wonderful place to begin your academic career. And I'm sure you'll do really well. So thank you, Vishal, for taking out time and helping us understand this not very popularly known exam. So congratulations so much once again. And thank you for joining us.
Thank you, ma'am. And thank you the entire team of the Jurisedge. And please extend my thanks to the Sudipta sir also, because we have been lot benefited
Absolutely.
by all of you. Thank you, ma'am.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you so much, Vishal.